seconds to wrap it up. And then after that, this, and there is no physical violence to enforce the cards, but we have your chairs electrified. So just be warned.
I would like to bring up a point. I am red and green colorblind.
Oh.
So if I keep going, it's because I think it's the same
color. This may be a long night for you. That's good.
Yes.
We also want to thank our good friends at Legislative Solutions and Pericles Carradas. He's their company sponsoring the event and helping us fund it. And you know, it's important to have support not just for good politics, which we all enjoy, but for good governance and for good civics. And this event is a good civics event. And that's why I want to take a second to thank the two candidates for participating. Some other candidates in other races are saying they're going to skip out on debates, but you're here. So yes, so a round of applause for doing that. And thank you, like I said, to Legislative Solutions for helping us do this. And so we're going to start with a 1-minute opening statement, and then we will have questions. We drew lots. Lily won, so she will go first for the opening and first for the closing. Lily, go right ahead.
I'm Lily Tang Williams. I was born in China to a very poor working class family. My mom and dad told me the best way I can overcome poverty is to get good education. So I studied very hard to go to law school in China, and at the age of 17, and I became a faculty member after that and a part-time lawyer. I wanted to live under freedom. I came to this country in 1988 with $100. And over the years, I have got married, got a degree, and raised 3 wonderful children, and started my own business. I'm living American dream. The reason I'm running is that I see the American dream, the opportunities I had, and I wonder if my children, you children, will have the same opportunities. So I'm running to bring New Hampshire values to Washington, bring cost of living down, and not just represent a party. And so I hope you check me out. Thank you.
Victor?
Hi, my name is Victor Orlando. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here tonight. I'd like to thank all the viewers tuning in. I'd especially like to thank my beautiful wife, Brittany, and our 3 kids. I wouldn't be able to do this without their support. Talk about why we're here tonight, and I'm going to share a little bit of the story of a close family friend of mine. Unfortunately, with everything getting as expensive as it has, him and his family had to move. They had to uproot their family, they had to take their kids out of school and move somewhere that was more affordable. And this is a story that's being repeated over and over in this state. Unfortunately, though, after he moved, he was replaced by an H-1B visa worker. And this is something that everyone's grappling with, where week after week they're working and they're just not catching up. I've been there. I've worked in the trades my entire life. I started in the 6th grade working in middle school, worked all throughout high school full-time and in college full-time. I know what it's like to do 100 hours in a week and still not catch up. Right now, our current representative in Congress, Maggie Goodlander, is not delivering for us in New Hampshire. I'm going to deliver for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I heard a device go off, so we will have none of that. That is where the violence will kick in, so please make sure your phones and et cetera are turned off. The first question will go to Victor Orlando. Here in New Hampshire, Donald Trump's approval rating in the latest St. Anselm College poll, and thank you to New Hampshire Institute of Politics for hosting us, he's at just 37% approve, 62% disapprove. How do you think President Trump is doing, and what approval rating would you give him?
So I think he's doing well. I mean, he still has 2 years left in his term, and he gave himself a very large list of things to do when he started. In terms of what's going on, we gotta remember what he inherited. He inherited 9% inflation from the previous administration. He was able to bring that down to 3%. That's a fantastic job. Now, he's not done yet. We still have a lot more work to do. We also have to remember in terms of what's going on. We have no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, Social Security tax breaks. We need to legislate those and make them permanent. Right now, those are going to expire in 2028. He's doing a fantastic job with that stuff, and we need to keep pushing it and moving forward.
Lily, would you give him what would your approval rating be for him?
I don't know if I can give him a number. I don't think that's fair right now. He still has 2 years left.
A minute to you, Lily Tang Williams.
When it comes to President Trump, I always like to treat him as the person we hire to do most important job for our American people, which is the president. And I like to look at his policies very rationally, and most policies are great, and I support. And some policies we need to play out. For example, this war in Iran, right? I mean, he has 2 years left. And so I will wait until end of his term and to give him a rating. But right now, I just want people to know he's the most important servant for our country. We should not play politics with him, his name, or his position. We need to talk about his policy, what is good for our country and what is bad for our American First agenda. So that's something I would like to focus on. When I go out, people don't ask me, some issues that press is obsessed with. They want to talk about kitchen table issues. And that's what I would like to focus on, like how do we bring down cost of living? Thank you.
So that's a great point about what people are talking about. This debate is for Republican primary voters specifically, and so we are focusing on issues that Republicans talk about. And of course, President Donald Trump and his impact on the party has been a central piece of that. So I'm going to ask the question this way, starting with you, Lily. Name the thing he's done other than the border. Everyone loves the border. Name something the president has done that you really look forward to talking about when you're trying to sway voters, and then name something that if he'd called you, you'd have said, no, I might not have done that one.
He prevented the biggest potential tax increase after he became president. Can you imagine our economy today if we had the largest tax increase after that tax cut expired? And he also, in favor of a working class, no tax on tips, on Social Security, and he trying to make America healthy again by really supporting RFK and Secretary of Human Services agenda and to make Americans healthy, especially our children. And so there are lots of policies that we need to talk about and in terms of what he has done for Americans. And not have severe TDS, and like we should even talk about his name. If I mention his name, some people just cannot take it. But let's focus on really policy. Even some Democrats, like Mark Rubin said, his RX plan actually is bring down drug prices after negotiation with all the big pharmaceutical companies. And we hope media will focus some of that.
Victor Orlando, the thing that you love talking about that he's done, and the one thing that you would have suggested he not.
Yeah, so I mentioned this before, the no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. But a couple other things that we don't really give him enough credit for this time around is how well he's done staffing his cabinet. I mean, Marco Rubio is essentially a modern Kissinger doing everything, right? He seems to have done a really good job with that. To answer the second part of the question, which I think is also important to understand where we differ, honestly, the tariffs, I wish he just implemented them differently. Specifically with how they're implemented, we need to do it in a slow, methodical process so we give times for supply chains to adapt, and then we don't feel it as consumers nearly as much. I mean, there's people in New Hampshire that feel it every time we have a trade spat with Canada. If we do something systematically where it's like, hey, in 3 months, we're going to have tariffs increase 5%, and then 3 months after that, another 5%. We give time for industries to move their supply chains to keep consumers out of that mess.
So I'm glad you brought up tariffs because the Democratic nominee in the 2nd Congressional District, likely Representative Maggie Goodlander, is absolutely going to attack Republicans on the tariffs issue. And so my question to you, Victor, is what are you going to say to voters about tariffs that will help them either vote for you and help Republicans win, or at least take the edge off? And can you explain how to put tariffs and affordability, cost of living, in the same conversation?
Yeah, so like I said in the last question, the answer to tariffs is it's not so much that they're bad, because they do help reorganize things. It's just we have to do it in a process that supply chains can move before consumers get hit with that high increase in prices. Then we also need to be very nuanced with our tariff exemptions. For example, there's a few high-quality CNC machines made in Canada that they were trying to move up into the Cowas County region to bring industrial to use those machines to make things. Those are very good things that should be tariff exempt because those are tools that are going to be used to manufacture things here. Now, would I love us to make the CNC machines ourselves? Yes, but the first step is bringing them over. So having a nuanced understanding of that and saying, hey, some stuff we're going to have a nuanced explanation, say that's going to have to be exempt. And then also we have to remember we have a wonderful railroad that goes up through Canada, back down through Buffalo into Ohio. And if we have a tariff fight going on, we need to be able to have some exemptions of when they leave and come back.
Okay. Lily Tang Williams, how are you going to explain tariffs to voters who see it as a problem for their cost of living and get them to support the Republican nominee in November?
Well, I'm generally for free trade, but over the years, you haven't seen that we are being taken advantage of by some countries, even hostile countries like China. I think it's President Trump's economical American First agenda. He's planning a long term by using tariffs as one of the critical tools for negotiations to get them to come down. I think in his heart, he would love to see 0-0. How about that? But you can see lots of countries have not been give us fair and trade deals, and they will not allow us to export our American products to their country. And he's using this also to encourage people come to the golden country, which is USA, to invest and create jobs. You see lots of foreign countries, big companies that come here, build factories, and create jobs and wealth. And so we have to give him some credit for doing that, and not just paint the brush, but I would like to see that's implemented smoothly.
So in Keene, local residents recently packed a city council meeting to express their anger over rumors, not even actual enforcement, but it's just rumors that ICE was doing enforcement in their area. That's how upset some Granite Staters are about immigrations and custom enforcement. Lily, do you support how President Trump has been using ICE? And what is your message to Democrats who want to abolish ICE?
Well, I always tell people I am the legal immigrant, and I waited a long time to become an American citizen. My brother waited 13 years to come here legally. And so I like to see immigrants who love this country come here, follow our laws, and come from the front door, and work and live their American dream. We are a country of immigrants. And Biden just opened up our borders and flooded in with 20 million illegals. If every city, every state are not section cities cooperate with our law enforcement, and we don't have lots of issues we're dealing with today. So I like to see, of course, transparency and due process. I like to see maybe law enforcement will consider even cameras, wear body cameras, and encourage self-deportation. If you're a criminal, you are illegals here, you need to go immediately. So I think that our state is not section state. That's why we are also the safest state. So we need to support our law enforcement, but locally, I hope that people will cooperate.
Right. Victor?
Yeah, so I look at this from a perspective of we did have some travesties that happened during the immigration enforcement process in a couple different areas of this country. And each one of those cases, we have to look at the circumstances around those. So ICE agents have a very specific role, and that's immigration enforcement. Quite literally, it's in their name. And what they do is when they go into a certain area, they ask for police assistance. They ask for police officers to, when they arrest someone who has an active warrant for drug dealing or theft, and they're an illegal immigrant, to turn them over. So then we don't have to have the ICE agents going there. We can just be transferring a prisoner. And what we've seen is the ICE agents are doing a very good job in areas where they have local police support. The problem we run into is when they don't have local police support, that we have these travesties. ICE agents are specifically trained for combating immigration. Police officers are trained to control crowds, to do that stuff and handle those jobs correctly. We need to have that cooperation so that those police officers can do the things they do best, and that's help control crowds and facilitate the arrest of people with active warrants.
Okay, a couple of lightning round questions, just 15 seconds or shorter. Start with you, Victor. What should happen to someone who's in the United States illegally and that fact is discovered by law enforcement or a government agency? What should happen to that person?
At that point, they should be held in custody as dictated by the law. We have to follow the law. And then at that point, they should be given a trial in terms of to determine if they should be deported at that point.
Lily, what should happen?
Yeah, enforce our law, follow our laws, detained and going through a process, and then decide if they should go, where do they go. So I think we need to be very rational because this is about our national sovereignty. It's also about doing the sense that we want to be human and peaceful, but if everybody cooperates, we will not have those chaotic situations because any human get killed. It's a tragic situation.
You know what's fascinating is you gave a 15-second answer each. You asked that question to Democrats, it's a lot longer and a lot more complicated. For some reason, I don't know why it's that hard, but it takes hours and then you still don't get an answer. So That's fascinating.
We
Another
don't use,
lightning
we
round
don't use
question.
the word salad, that's why.
Another lightning round question, again, starting with you, Victor. Where is the best place for breakfast in the 2nd Congressional District? Not your home or a family home, but an actual I can go there and eat location in the 2nd Congressional District.
Mad River Cafe in Campton off exit 28. You get off the I-93 heading, well, I guess technically you would make a right after you get off the exit. It's tucked in right there. They got a hardware store nearby. Very, very good.
What's the best place?
I think I know my town in where that now called the Generals, and also we have John Stock. Now it's called the Cowboy at Cantina, and try it. It's pretty good.
Sorry, you're both wrong. It's the Yoke Grill in Nashua. Yoke Grill in Nashua. I have to take points off. I'm kidding.
They have
There's
very
no-
good.
look at Lily.
They
She's
have
like, "No,
very
I'm
good
kidding."
shakes.
I got to tell
very
you,
good
if you
shakes.
have not been to the Yoke Grill, it is holy moly. It is,
Did you get the flight of shakes?
we can't talk. I'm sorry. I cannot get distracted by food. We have important things to talk about. I could do an hour on food. But anyway, that's that. Okay, so Lily, do you support President Trump's policy in Iran? And if he called you, phone rang, and said, Lily, hugely problems down here. What should I do? What would your advice be to President Trump
If
on
he
Iran?
did call me, I have 10 questions for him. Yeah, well, I mean, I would like to ask, have we exhausted all other means? And because we just don't know what made him that decision, what intel he had from the intelligence community. Iran should not have nuclear weapons. And I think that's the one reason he was pushing, and then they did not just give him answer or even and to go there inspect. And so I just don't know. And I was kind of surprised when that war happened, end of February. Gas was $2.20, and now it's doubled. And you feel the Granny Staters pain when they go to get fill up their cars. And of course, that diesel cost is driving up food cost and other costs. And I'm hoping that by doing economical sections right now, the pressure will work. I mean, you have to give them some leverage because it's hard to negotiate with terrorists because they don't have rational thinking. They will kill their own 40,000 people in order to exercise their government control. So I'm hoping this will end.
What would your advice be to the president, and how do you think he's doing in Iran?
Thank you for repeating the question, by the way. My advice to the president would be to continue doing what you're doing, and he's seeking peace right now. That's what every single person in this country wants. That's what he's doing. Now, Lily touched on this a little bit, but here's the thing. We're negotiating with people who don't value human life. So if someone attacks us and they threaten our people, we take that into consideration when we do something. Iran could care less if half their people die. So he's in a bit of a position. And then we also have to remember we're dealing with bullies. These people attack ships after they make an agreement. They're constantly breaking their agreements. And sometimes the only way to deal with a bully is to hit him back in the face. And that's exactly what Trump's doing, and I support that. I've said it from the beginning that, I look at this from a military perspective. He's our commander-in-chief. And we have to trust in our commander-in-chief to make sure all this works.
So starting with you, Victor, one of the issues that's come up related to Iran is the idea that America's foreign policy is actually being driven by Israel, that America's too close to Israel. Inside the Republican Party, there's a debate going on between what should America's relationship be with Israel. Should it be different now that they're a more mature country that can defend itself as opposed to, say, in the 1970s when they had the Yom Kippur War, et cetera. So my questions to you are, what do you think is the right-sized relationship with Israel? And are you concerned that the criticism has drifted into areas that resemble anti-Semitism and bigotry?
Well, I'll start off with the end of the question first. I'm definitely very concerned. I mean, we see open anti-Semitism on the Democrat side constantly now. We get to the point now where they're refusing to even talk to people who are of Jewish descent. Regarding our relationship with Israel, we have a lot of allies in the region, and we've built a lot of allies, but there's a difference between an ally and a friend. A friend's someone who, if they see you in a fight, they jump in and they get a black guy with you. We've had that type of relationship with Israel for years, going back to the Cold War. I don't see another ally in that area who I can call our friend. Regarding intelligence sharing, they're sharing intelligence with us over and over again. Regarding economic activity, we do about $55 billion in trade with Israel. We need to continue to support that trade. They invest here, they buy things here. Right. We should continue to support that.
Lily?
I mean, Israel is our friend, our ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, and very vital to the peaceful Middle East, and we share similar values. And any kind of discrimination need to be condemned. But American citizens do have a right to question our foreign policy, foreign aid. I will not try to use that anti-Semitism to easily shut down free speech and free press. And foreign policy is a separate issue we need to focus on and talk about it, debate, instead of going down to some extreme views. And we have to be rational. But also that any foreign policies we're talking about, we need to put Americans' interests above all. That's what the American First movement is about. Our country, our people, and I will always stand for voters in my district and to listen to them and to come up with very sensible peace through strength and foreign policy.
15 seconds, starting with you, Victor. The Massey Amendment would have stopped all foreign military aid to Israel from the U.S. Congressman Chris Pappas voted present. Maggie Goodlander voted against it, I believe.
I think
I'm just from memory, so I
she
apologize. But the present was more memorable. How would you have voted on that amendment?
So I believe Maggie Goodlander voted against funding Israel still. So it's kind of like a double negative, so I don't know exactly how that would. But I would vote to continue funding and helping Israel, because like I said, we do $55 billion of a trade in them. We'll spend about $3 billion to $3.5 billion to protect $55 billion. That's an easy deal to make.
Right.
No-brainer.
Would you have voted for or against the Massey Amendment to ban foreign aid to Israel, military aid to Israel?
Before I vote for any bills, I would like to read them. Sometimes the nitty-gritty details, actually in the devils, I mean, like they call the, details in the devils or something. I think Maggie Goodlander actually got funded by some PACs and pro-Israel PACs. I don't know what happened. Maybe she's pressured by left side of her party and to vote no. But I think as a foreign aid, it should be come up, not specific for a country, but as a general topic, we need to talk about foreign aid and what is the best interest of U.S., especially if we have $40 trillion in debt. How much are we going to give to foreign countries? That's subject to really a public discussion.
I just want to be clear, this is bad on the moderator. I should have known the answer before I mentioned Maggie Goodlander. She did vote for the amendment, which would have stopped military aid in that state funding, State Department funding. So I just want to make sure, give her credit where credit is due. Chris Pappas declined to vote either way. So there you go. Lily, starting with you, this is the why you question. No Republican has won the 2nd Congressional District since 2010. Last time before that, he only held it for one term. Right now, there are Republicans in this race who look at the two of you and they say, I don't care, I just want to beat Maggie Goodlander. That's all I want. I just want to win, baby, win. Why are you the win, baby, win candidate in this Republican nominee to win in November?
Well, I have a very unique background and lived experience, survived communism. Now you see rise of DSA, and the socialists are going to Congress to add more people to the squad. And nobody could be like me to be that very effective antidote to the Democrat socialists in Congress. They're going to pass socialist policies, something I have already lived and suffered and survived. It's not good to our people. It's not good to continue American way of life. So I would be the best person to actually to be that antidote. And number two, I'm a fiscal conservative. National debt is a tremendous threat to our future generations of American dream. I will be constantly calling out the Congress for their reckless spending, irresponsible, out of control, and printing, borrow money, drive up inflation. That's what I'm fighting for American dream, for my children and your children and the grandchildren.
Victor Orlando, go ahead. Applaud away. Absolutely. We encourage applause. We like that. Why are you the right Republican nominee to represent the party in November?
I'll be very specific and I'll keep it very sweet. Our current representative in Congress is for her. I'm for you. I'm for the people of this state in New Hampshire. Specifically, I'm working class. I've worked in the trades. I'm blue collar. We talk about turnout all the time. Who are the people we don't have coming out? It's those people who are working class, the people who are just getting by. I've lived that experience. I am that experience. I'm specifically here to help them. The people who are putting eggs back when they go to the grocery store, people who are putting butter back, bread, beef, the things that are not negotiable that we should be able to buy in the greatest country in the world. People are putting those back on the shelves because they can't afford it. I'm here for them. I'm here specifically so that your kids can raise their kids in the great state of New Hampshire.
Once again, applause encouraged. So we'll pick it up right there then. One of the things you've talked about is that you work in the trades. You were endorsed by the State Employees Union, something
Yep.
that's kind of new for Republicans to get union endorsements. In the primary, you were endorsed. And you also describe yourself as pro-union. Would you support the Federal PRO Act, which would override state right-to-work laws and permit contracts requiring some non-union employees to pay union fees?
So if we look at specifically when it comes to, we'll talk about government workers because the State Employees Association
Right,
is
exactly.
government workers. Right now, the Supreme Court, the Janus decision, gives every single government worker the right to work either way. So any other legislation regarding that is kind of a moot point in that regard. Specifically, when it comes to the union endorsement, they've had a good track record of picking Republican winners. We look at Kelly Ayotte, Janice Stevens, Joe Kenney. I mean, they've picked some pretty good winners. Regarding that, it all stems back from, these are working class people, right? SEA covers DPW workers, covers police officers, covers emergency management services, it covers fish and game, covers corrections officers. These are working class people that are looking for a voice on our side, and they're trying to help them with that.
I'm going to take 15 seconds, if I can, because I just want to try this. On the PRO Act itself, which would stop states that are currently right to work from being right to work and would allow contractors to say, I know you're not, allow the union to say, I know you're not in our union, but because we're representing you, we are able to charge you dues anyway. Would you be a vote in the U.S. House for the PRO Act?
So I'd have to review the full bill. I don't know it off the top of my head. Regarding it, I will say I believe that private organizations have the right to negotiate with private unions. I will also say from a subcontract perspective, if I subcontract out a job to someone else, I don't then get to tell them, oh no, you also have to hire this subcontractor.
Okay. Lily Tang Williams, where are you on the PRO Act and right to work?
I'm actually big on states' rights. And if some states, they voted to support right to work, why should the federal government come in to get involved for special interest groups? In principle, people have right to choose which group they want to associate with. I totally support, especially private union people, and how they negotiate, how they socialize with each other and negotiate contracts. And, but I also support state rights to decide. And if you do choose not to join unions, then you should not enjoy their benefits, work hard, negotiate. So that got to be also personal responsibility too. So you cannot have a good sense, either or, right? You have to be balanced and reasonable.
Okay, lightning round question. You got a call from a good friend who's coming to New Hampshire. They only have time to go to one place and visit one or see one thing that will really capture what it's like to live in New Hampshire. Lily Tang Williams, where do you take them?
I want them to go to White Mountains.
Okay.
I love our White Mountains. And Franconia, that famous picture, I have that on the wall in my living room. I look at the beautiful New Hampshire every day.
Victor Orlando, where do you take them?
Probably take them out to Claremont. It's a cool mill city, so it's got beautiful old mill buildings, but it's got the racetrack, and it's a beautiful drive out there.
I would never have guessed Claremont in 100 years. I am borderline stunned. Hey, that's why I love doing this.
Check it out.
You never know. While you're there, pick up $5 million in school money they can't find. It's a great place. This is wonderful.
I mean, it went somewhere.
Exactly.
It's probably
a good
buried
point.
somewhere.
You're probably right. It's
Yeah,
probably a
it's
great.
treasure
Maybe
hunt.
it's a hidden secret. I
That's
need to
fine.
go check it out.
It's absolutely fine. A federal appeals court just threw out a ruling from an Obama appointee who upheld the right of Bow High School to punish speech that advocated keeping boys out of girls' sports, but allowing pro-LGBT speech and messages, the famous pink wristband case. So just this week, that ruling was overturned by a unanimous appeals court who said the ruling was blatant, illegal viewpoint discrimination. The original treatment of these silent protesters by the Bow school system and federal judge is what many religiously faithful Granite Staters say they experience frequently here in New Hampshire. What are you going to do as a member of Congress for these people, and what is one issue that social conservatives and religious conservatives care about that you will champion, starting with you, Lily?
I have signed a pledge with Independent Women's Forum to stand up for women, for girls' sports, and private spaces. There is a biological difference. And even Supreme Court of Scotland ruled women are biological females. That's a huge victory. I think the United States is falling behind. Of course, I'm live, let live, and if you want to choose whatever lifestyle you want after you're 18, don't push down our children, and how you want to dress is not my business. But when it comes to protect women and the children in our schools, absolutely, I think there is some rule for the federal government to step in to protect the vulnerable children and to protect the women's privacy and the sports.
Victor?
Yeah, so there's two issues with this. First is an obvious free speech issue. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. Doesn't matter if you're a child, doesn't matter if you're a teenager, doesn't matter if you're an adult. Freedom of speech means freedom of speech, period. Second thing is, men, biological men, do not belong in women's private spaces. They do not belong in women's sports, period.
Follow-up, and we'll start with you on this one, Victor. Would you support a national ban on sex change procedures for minor children?
100%. If we look historically, when I was a teenager, a big thing in the UN going on was genital mutilation in Africa,
Right.
and that was a huge war crime issue. So now it's okay if we do it in a hospital setting? No, it's not. It's a child abuse issue, and honestly, I'd take it one step further and say this is a war crime issue.
Lynn?
I do support that because it is a proper rule of government to protect the life and liberty and the property. And the children, if they're in blue states and their parents decide to do whatever they want about their body, their genders, it's just not right. They need the protection. And it is a child abuse. When you have to get a parental permission to go get a tattoo, you are under 18 or go to casino, and you don't have to get a protection if you're minor to do irreversible damage to yourself. I mean, how do the kids know? When my kid was 8 years old, he wanted to be a dinosaur. so you cannot, they are not legally to consent. So we need to protect children from this kind of abuses. And then let them to be kids, and let them grow up to make their own decisions after they become adults.
Okay, Lily, we'll start with you on. You're elected to Congress. Congratulations. You get to the floor of the House. The first bill you enter is going to be on what topic? What will be the first legislation you enter? And who is the person in the House that you would go to first to ask them to co-sponsor it?
I have talked about the balanced budget for a while. I would like to reintroduce again the balanced budget bill with Senator Rand Paul's 6-penny plan. Maybe he can be my co-sponsor from the Senate. It's his plan anyway. But I really see this is a threat to our national security, our quality of life, our American dream. The prediction is that within like 10 years, our national debt is going to grow to $62 trillion. Right now, we are paying $1 trillion on the interest alone. How are our young people going to inherit economical freedom opportunities? They will be draining in debt. Every baby is born today will have $110,000 national debt on their head. And the Congress keep printing money, borrowing money. They never talk about, be frugal with our money, and they don't care about your inflation rates, affordability, because they're doing inside trading. They're become multimillionaires by doing that. So I would like to, that's the first bill I want to focus on.
Congressman Orlando, what's your first bill and who do you go to co-sponsor?
So first bill would be an infrastructure bill. Last time we had an infrastructure-only bill was the IIJA Act, was the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, and New Hampshire was 50th in the list of how much money we got. And this is roads and bridges, and I don't know if you've driven throughout the state. We start getting into some of these rural communities. We desperately need these things. We start driving in some of the urban communities in Nashua. We desperately need these things. We're dead last. We have about $400 million in dams that we are going to have to shoulder on our property taxes. And I know how much Granite Staters love paying property tax, that if we don't get some help, we're going to shoulder that completely. Who I would go to for assistance with this was Majority Leader Scalise, mainly because if he's a majority leader, he's going to be able to help me get support for this. He's going to help me get it done, bring something back for the people of New Hampshire.
So you've mentioned several times in your public statements that you are going to be shameless about using your leverage to get stuff to come back to New Hampshire.
100%.
For all the libertarians who talk about process and all the old school conservatives who talk about green eye shade, you're like, no, you want my vote, you got to bring something back. Some people look at it and they go, that's the kind of dealing that got us to $40 trillion in debt. So two questions. One is, how does that help the nation as a whole address its debt problem? Number two, are you indirectly criticizing our current delegation for apparently not being able to get these resources to come to New Hampshire?
Yes, I'll address the second part first. I'm not indirectly doing it, I'm directly
Oh, okay,
criticizing
sorry.
them. So we don't have to, that's 100% a criticism of theirs. Specifically on this, they're not bringing deliverables back to New Hampshire, period. 50th out of 50. I mean, that's horrible. Let's look at the second part of, well, the first part of that question rather, was how do we bring down the debt at the same time? Well,
Right.
I'll put this into perspective that I've said many times. I'm a roofer, right? We're simple. If you hire me to do a roof on your house, you pay me in full, I never show up and do it. Next year, you don't have a conversation as, hey, do we pay him the same? Do we pay him more? Do we pay him less? No, you go, where's my roof?
Right.
And that's the exact argument that's not happening in Congress. They get $5 trillion a year in our tax money, every single year. You're telling me that's not enough to pay for all this stuff? 100% it is. China built a network of infrastructure 3 times the size of ours in 20 years with less money. How the heck can't we do it? We're the greatest country on the planet. And my thing is we go forward past that and we look at that. Look at Berlin. They got a $24 million grant for heated sidewalks and roads. Where'd it go?
Right.
They didn't get either thing.
Okay. We're coming to you, Lily. Go right ahead.
I just want to have rebuttal for him. As a congressional candidate, if you're not able to convince people, donate any money to your campaign, how are you going to convince people in Congress when it comes a huge number of project numbers to support, co-sponsor your bills? I mean, if you look at your FEC finding, you have in-kind donations, and you did not even follow the FEC guidelines about in-kind donations, and there's no individual donors. How are you going to even beat Maggie Gallagher in the general election?
So I'd like to respond to that.
Sure.
So when she's talking about those in-kind donations, those were in-kind donations from myself to my campaign, specifically because me and my wife, we've run our own roofing company for a few years now, and we like to give back to the community. We actually had 2 roofs this year we did that I campaigned about. I called the FEC, said, hey, do I have to put these in here? The FEC said, you do. I said, how do I do it? They said, you have to do an in-kind donation to yourself and in-kind donation to them. In this case, one of them was the Co-os Catalyst Food Pantry up north. Guy bought the building trying to help people out, run down
Sure.
building. I took care of the roof for them. Same thing, Errol Town Hall. This is a town of less than 300 people. They do not have the money to replace a 90-square roof.
But
I
back,
took care of that for them as well.
and so we'll follow up with this. This is a great conversation because back to the first question, which is Republicans just want to win. They look at candidates who are able to raise money to do the marketing work they need to take on Maggie Goodlander.
Sure.
What about Lily's question for you? If you
Oh.
can't build the financial support to be competitive, then is it wise for the Republicans who just want to win to invest their votes in your campaign?
Sure. Well, we'll start off with the money-raising aspect. To be honest, let's look at every single race going on in the state right now. The Democrats have outraised us, in a lot of cases, 4-1. I mean, Maggie Goodlander has outraised my primary opponent 4-1 right now. Yeah, that's difficult, but if we get into a match where it's just about money, we're going to lose every time. It's not about money. They talk about First in the Nation primary, which the Democrats took away. You know why they took it away? Because it's not about money in New Hampshire. It's about doing the retail politics, getting out, meeting the voters, talking to people, and that's what wins in New Hampshire. That's specifically why the Democrats took away our First in the Nation primary. That's also specifically why, as Republicans, we're continuing to honor that primary.
And Lily, the question for you is people say, love Lily, she's great energy, outspeaking, but she's already run and have not been successful. Why should people think that this time you're going to be successful where you have not been able to be successful in the past? Once again, for those Republicans who just want to win. They love you both, they just want to win.
I understand that. I got a 47% last cycle without one single TV ad after I won the primary. And I went viral by debating her on WMUR, but it was too late. So I ended up to be 47. That's the best result for the past 10 years for Congressional District 2 race. And so I jumped in raised lots of money from individual donors all over the country. When I say raise money, it's convince individual donors, not other PACs and corporations. I have a lot of them. Maggie is full of those. Her top donor state is New York, and big donors. Hillary Clinton married her and Jake Sullivan, so that's, that's where the big money comes from. But I think I can do this time because I have some serious financial resources. I have a grassroots team, 100 volunteers, all the county chairs lined up. My grassroots team volunteers are the best, 100% organic. Without them, I really cannot do this campaign, so thank you.
I'm sorry, you wanted to rebut?
Yeah, so just for the record, at this point, this is now your 5th time running for Congress. You ran twice in Colorado, rather your 5th time running for office. You ran twice in Colorado, lost and lost. You ran, first time you ran here, you lost. Last time you ran here, you ran against Maggie Goodlander, and then you lost to her. Right now, you're 0-4. I don't see that as a winning record we can trust to have success.
Lily?
Do you know how many times the Jefferson ran for president? How many times Ron Paul ran? I was running in Colorado, and the third party, I knew I could not win, but I wanted to gain political experience and tell my stories. And the first time I ran for Congress as a major party candidate is 2022 in New Hampshire. And without any money, even brand new person here, I got a 25%. So you think that you are polling at 7%? You're challenging my percentages. I'm here to debate you on the policies. But if you throw out the same propaganda other people use against me in the past many times, it just doesn't work, because I got a 58% in the primary poll. You got a 5% or 7%. I trust people to decide. I trust people to judge my message and my policies if I'm able to
One
present
last
them
rebuttal, then we
in
want to do
content.
some other stuff. So go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, so she referenced Ron Paul, she referenced Jefferson. Jefferson ran for office, ran for president twice. He ran against John Adams, and then he lost, and then he ran the second time, and he won.
Lincoln. Even Lincoln, yeah.
So I'm not sure what you're referencing, and Ron Paul has not won yet, so I guess that's a good comparison.
He ran for Congress, yeah.
Regarding policies and things like that, we should definitely be judged by our policies and by what we're saying. And specifically, we should be judged by the policies we've had when we were in other positions. Specifically, look at the libertarian policies you had in Colorado are at odds with most of the Republican Party policies or positions we have now.
That was 10 years ago. I became Republican, and before I moved to New Hampshire, and I call myself conservatory because people, I don't agree with some of their policies. Plus, you never tell people I was Republican for 13 years before I become Republican, before I become libertarian.
If we need more of this, we will absolutely make time for it. But I worked on all these questions, and I want to use some of them. So
Yeah, I put the principles over the party.
We're now going to turn the guns a different way,
Right.
and we'll start with you on this one, Lily. You're on stage with Maggie Goodlander. You get to ask her one question. What do you ask her?
I will ask her that why did you lie to people, call yourself a renter last time? You are not a renter. You own a Portsmouth house. You own a house in D.C., and she tell people in the primary that Congress needs more renters, and in order to run for this open seat. She did not live in New Hampshire for 16 years. When a politician does not have integrity to tell the truth, deceive people, and I will call them out. I will do this for my own party, and if in D.C. they are lying to the American people and to Granite Staters, I will call them out. Because I think I have integrity, honesty, transparency. It's extremely important. She can still run for CD-2 by living in Portsmouth, but she cannot tell people, oh, I'm a renter. Congress needs more renters. She destroyed her opponent in the primary, a nice guy. So I'm going to face her and challenge her that.
Okay. What's your question for Maggie Goodlander who's standing on stage?
So I'm going to ask her, she claims she loves New Hampshire, but why did her actions show differently? We start with the Bow Wow Act. She voted against protecting service dogs, so now people can attack them and it's not a felony. She voted against bringing aid to this state. She voted against no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, so now she hates working class people. She wanted to move the first in the nation primary, which they successfully did, and she did nothing to stop that. And then she committed treason, which exposes an even bigger issue because, let's be honest, it's not the fact that she said it, it's the fact of the double standard. If we had any current service member, any former service member say that, they'd be in a treason trial. They'd be going to jail. But because of her establishment connections, her Hillary Clinton accolades, because of who she is and the money she has in her position, she gets away with it. That is disgusting and a double standard, and I'd want to hear what she has to say about that.
Lightning round questions, 15 seconds, starting with Victor. The great actor Tim Curry just passed away. Have you ever seen his greatest film, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and what did you think of it?
I'm going to be honest, that's a little bit before my
No
time.
problem, just asking. Just asking?
He has my his family has my condolences, I will say, as does Dolly Parton, and then also the ZZ Top drummer, Frank Beard. Sharp-dressed man. And
Frank Beard, the only member without a beard.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yes.
Lily Tang Williams, have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No, not.
Okay.
I mean, I came to this country like when I was almost 24, but I love Dolly Parton, though. It's so sad to see her passing. I love her song, I Will Always Love You. It just makes my, tears come out when I
Yes.
listen to it.
Okay, starting with Lily, you can have dinner with any former president. Former as in used to be president, not president now, even if he was also a former president, which is the weird situation we're in. So this is not Donald Trump. You can have dinner with any former president, living or dead. Anyone.
Living or dead?
Living or dead. Who do you have dinner with?
My favorite one is George Washington, our first president, who actually refused to be a king and wants to go back to be a farmer after we established our constitutional republic. I give him incredible, admiration and for that. See, that's what the founding fathers really intended for our country to be. It's a constitutional republic.
Who's your dinner partner?
Person I'm probably going to pick is Nixon. He doesn't just know where the bodies are buried, he buried them himself. We talk about deep state, he made the deep state.
I would pay money to see your dinner with Nixon in Claremont. That would just be amazing.
Yeah, we'll go to the Common Man. They have a beautiful spot right
And then
there.
I'm taking you all to a midnight movie showing of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then you can throw the toast, and it'll be absolutely great. Okay, back to more serious topics. New Hampshire is so fascinating to hear the debate about data centers. It's not realistic debate in New Hampshire because energy is so ridiculously expensive in New England. No one's going to build a sizable data center here. Anyway, Victor, what can Congress actually do to take New Hampshire out of the top 5 most expensive electricity and energy cost states and bring costs down?
Yeah, this goes back to what I talked about before of infrastructure, specifically natural gas. So we tried to get a natural gas pipeline here about a decade ago. It didn't work because they were being, they weren't being smart about it. They wanted to run through people's backyards to conservation lands. I propose is instead of doing that, we run one up from Scranton, PA, through Binghamton, up the I-88 corridor in New York, down through I-90, then shoot up into here, and we use existing electrical transmission line egress points. That does 2 things. For one, we already got the egress points. We already have the easements for those. There's no environmental concerns. It's interstate commerce, so the states can't really stop it. Second thing, what does it do for us? Well, we get the cheapest natural gas in the country from PA. We're going to drop our heating costs by about 1/3. It's going to save a lot of Granite Staters money. It's going to help a lot of working families. Next thing it does is it allows us to have natural gas right next to transmission lines, perfect for natural gas power plants, which have the fastest ROI and fastest startup time in terms of bringing the cost of electricity down.
Lily?
Well, New Hampshire already has some small-sized data centers, but you're talking about the big ones, or even potentially for AI. I do not believe New Hampshire currently, with its limitation on electricity grid and supply, and very expensive, and also environmental impact, all those need to be subject to conversations and discussions, cannot be pushed through the people. And even our governor come out to say, we're not going to consider those right now because we just cannot afford to have those medium to large sizes. And my principle is always, if there's a new industry, and the private company wants to do something, they have to equally compete with each other. They cannot get the taxpayers' dollars to subsidize them. That's not fair to taxpayers. And the number two, the legitimate concern of our people, when it comes to cost, environmental impact, our quality of life, and it need to be addressed.
Right.
So that's where we are right now. I want to emphasize that balanced approach.
So I'm going to follow because you brought up another topic, so we're going to go back around. I'm going to try again. What is your energy policy to lower rates for New Hampshire when it comes to energy? What would you pursue? And then I'm going to ask you, Victor, about your take on data centers. So we'll do that.
Sure.
I think that unfortunately, we're in bad neighborhood. We're a part of ISO New England, and you have those Democrat governors in blue states that refuse to let natural gas coming here from Pennsylvania through New York. New York governor already said, I refuse to build pipelines and to go to New Hampshire. So now we're focused on nuclear. Nuclear is clean, and the modern technology now is going to be even more like an effective SMR. We hope that we'll apply for those and get approved soon, that we could stack them up at the Seabrook, the power plant places, and to be commercialized. We already have them, power plant in Seabrook, and we have also the shipyard in Portsmouth have those, SMRs. So now we need just to make them to happen faster. It might still take a few years' time, but I want to develop all scalable available energy resources to bring down the cost. Everybody tells me their bills, in winter and the summer. So this is one area that we need to cut the red tapes and speed up the things.
So Victor, she brought up the data center issue. What's your take on data centers?
So I don't have a problem with data centers specifically. I just have two prerequisites that I'd like fulfilled with them. One of them has to do with water resource use. So the reason water resource use is so intensive is a lot of the older style data centers did something called an evaporative cooling system. So when they spray water on an outdoor condenser, uses a lot of water. Also can be a little health hazardous because you can get Legionnaires that way. And then less modern ones would then use something called a pump and dump system. It's basically they're using a shell and tube heat exchanger. They pump water out of a well, cool off it, and dump it back. Most modern data centers don't do that. They use a closed loop system, which is essentially if we just took piping and we put it in the ground, it's in a loop, they treat it so it's really good on the material, but it doesn't use any extra water. I would make that a prerequisite for data centers so that we're not wasting resources. The second thing is the electricity issue. We either have to generate enough electricity where it's cheap, or we have to allow them to generate it themselves. If we don't do that, we don't even have to worry about it because they're not going to be here.
So we've got a couple more questions to get to and then your final statements. And I want to start with you, Victor, on this one. The U.S. relationship with China under President Trump has been very interesting. Tariffs that he imposed in the first, his first term were maintained by Biden. But at the same time, he said recently he'd like to see 600,000 Chinese students come to the United States and study here on visas, et cetera. What do you think America's policy should be towards China? And what do you say to people that the more you fight with China, the more you raise prices? Because like it or not, that's where America gets its low-cost goods that families rely on.
Yeah, so we need to look at China as an adversary because China has described themselves as our adversary. They've said it to us. So if you have someone who's telling you they're your enemy, we should treat them like our enemy. Now, a lot of this has to do with long-term, we have to bring manufacturing back to the United States, so we're not reliant on them for those cheap goods. We also have to keep a very, very good eye on these student visas. I believe Trump did that because a lot of the colleges said they'd go bankrupt if they didn't get those. Well, maybe if you let in some more American kids, you wouldn't go bankrupt. Just a suggestion. But regarding that, the other issue we have is China stealing our IP, specifically all of our high military intelligence stuff, especially when we have students coming over here in our physics departments. These are cutting-edge physics departments getting federal grants all over the country. It's a very, very big issue in terms of national security interest because they're working on things that are very, very advanced that could, make things go boom.
Lily, what's your policy toward China be?
Actually, Fox News interviewed me as soon as Trump said, we need 600,000 more Chinese students here. And they asked me, do you think it's a good idea? I said, no, not a good idea. Because I'm the whistleblower for 3 Chinese company projects in our own state here. They use our open society and come here, buy land, buy real estate. Some violate our federal laws and cause national security concerns, like Longfu Spring. We had 2 town halls about that. I think that China potentially is our largest adversary, And because they are the second largest economy, and they also, their values are totally not compatible with Americans and Western values, which is free speech and also free enterprise and the Second Amendment right. They are locking down all their dissidents right now. If you disagree with party, if you're American citizens, when you go to China right now, and they can lock you up too. That's why I'm taking personal risk. And by speaking the truth, educate people, and they threaten me, put me on their blacklist. So I have not seen my family, friends in China for the past 11 years. But that's the sacrifice I'm willing to make because we are living free or die state.
We got to wrap up, and she didn't.
One quick rebuttal, keep it very quick. I find it very interesting that you're against allowing Chinese students to come here when that's how you came to this country. How do you handle that hypocrisy?
Well, I educate people about the China's history. In the 80s, when Chinese students like me wanted to come here, we are just regular students. Some of them really want to come here, seek land of opportunity,
So it's okay
and get a
for you, but
degree.
not other people.
But you got to understand, ever since Xi Jinping become the #1 supreme power leader, his policy has changed. I mean, he's not even stick to all the World Trade Organization promises. They're stealing our secrets, and they're doing soft power invasion. And they passed national security law in China 2018. Any Chinese citizen, no matter where you are subject to their intelligence and obligations to cooperate with Chinese government for spying and for performing certain tasks they want you to do. Otherwise, you're not allowed to leave.
Okay, one more question before we get to the final statements. Yeah, go ahead. We love applause. It's good. And we'll start with you, Lily, because it has to do with socialism and so popular in China. The #1 form of socialism that's being embraced by New Hampshire Democrats running in Congress this year is single-payer health care, government health care, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. There are a lot of younger people who say they love this idea. They want the government to take over the healthcare system and just give healthcare to everyone. And they also are angry because healthcare costs have been growing faster than inflation, been growing exponentially faster in recent years. And people are genuinely angry. So what do you say to the people who are angry about healthcare costs? A, why isn't Medicare for all, government healthcare the right solution? And B, what is your solution for high healthcare costs?
I would like to invite them to come to my town hall, listen to my personal stories. They live in China under socialist medicine. Government control all hospitals. My mom got like the bad blood transfusion and got syphilis, and she got like memory loss. And that caused her actually probably partially reason for dementia and died earlier 2020 with COVID. So it sounds good, but the government is never the solutions. When a government cannot even manage our finances, our retirement, the national debt, and you want them to manage our health care, that's our life. It just does not work. We need to look at the other options like a free market competition. And I offer people my plan, which is a membership plan, and you buy direct and you share the benefits. $260 a month and $5,000 deductible, better than Obamacare because I cannot even afford Obamacare myself. Yeah.
So, Victor, what's wrong with Medicare for all? It's popular with Stephanie Shaheen, and what's your solution if that's not the right one?
Sure. Well, what's wrong with it is, we're going to have the same people who buy $900 toilet seats buying your health benefits. I mean, that doesn't sound like a good idea, especially we talk about how much money government wastes. We're going to let them do that next. But what we need to remember is we need to stop focusing on negatives, and we need to focus on the positives that we offer as Americans for freedom. Look, in a communist and socialist country, no matter how you get your food, you have to ask the government, beg the government for it. That's how socialism and communism work. In our great system, in our America, we're freedom. You can hunt your food, you can fish it, you can raise it, you can grow it, or you can go and buy it. And here's the best thing about America. Even if none of that's an option to you because you're down on your luck, we'll still give it to you. That's how great America is. And we need to focus on that. This is that feeling of freedom you get when you get your driver's license. Now you can do anything. We offer self-determination. We offer self-agency. We offer freedom. That's what we have to offer. If you don't want those things, that's your choice. But we are going to give people freedom and the ability to choose and the ability to earn for themselves, which is better than anything socialism can offer.
So now it's time. Go ahead. Applause, applause. Now it's time for your final remarks to the audience and to the folks who are watching via the stream, et cetera. 2 minutes to you, Lily Tang Williams.
I am the embodiment of American dream. I came here with nothing, and I'm running for Congress in the greatest state in the country, New Hampshire. I want my kids, and I want you kids to have that opportunity. I'm a very independent-minded. I always put principle over just a party night. And I intend to be the unifier. It's sad to me to see our country is extremely divided over politics. I came here to be American. I come here to be a grand stater. If you have issues, you have some concerns, please come to my town hall and not attack each other on social media. I welcome your opinion. I already offered to sit down with any state legislators, regardless party, to listen to your voters' concerns and invite all the young people. I had a conversation with Gen Z on Hudson Community TV and to listen to their concerns. Because we are Americans. If we are united, there's nothing we cannot achieve. And I want to go to Washington, D.C. to be truly the voice for the people. I'm not running. I made so much sacrifice. I'm not running to gain power and money. I'm running to serve the people, to give back to the state, the country I love. And so I want you to check me out. I hope you reach out if you do still have questions. And I wanted to serve the people, not the special interest. My slogan has been always same for the past 10 years, if you have not heard. It's Lily for liberty and not for sale. So please, I ask for your vote, for your volunteer, for your support, and turn out to vote on September 8th. Thank you.
Victor?
Yeah, so just want to reiterate something specifically. I said it earlier, but my primary opponent uses the word I a lot. She talks about her story, her fight against communism, her town halls, her this, her that, and all this. And then she tries to say she's doing it for you. I am not for me, I am for you. My primary opponent is for her. Victor is for you. I am doing this so working class families in this state can afford to raise their kids, and then their kids can afford to raise their kids in New Hampshire. I am doing this so New Hampshire can get the roads and bridges it pays for already through its federal income tax, because we all pay that. I'm doing this so that everyday families can afford to have a home, to do things for themselves. I am doing this for the people of New Hampshire. I am doing this so that our grandkids can call this state their home, so we don't have to worry about them moving to somewhere that's cheaper. That's what this is about. This isn't about anyone. This is about the people of New Hampshire. This is about bringing jobs back here. This is about bringing infrastructure money back here. It's about getting them some relief so they can breathe and actually be ahead for once next week. Thank you.
Big round of applause for both of our candidates. Thank you all very much. Thanks again to Lily and to Victor. Thank you again to Legislative Solutions and Pericles Carradas for sponsoring this debate and making it possible. You'll find it at nhjournal.com. You'll find our write-up and, of course, on our YouTube channel.